today, and thanks to Mary Kane as well for organising and arranging and coming up with the idea of putting in this webinar and this information session for people that may be interested in the Masters in Digitalisation of Manufacturing. I think it's really important to have it, and also to hear from particularly some of our ex-students that have been on the programme, and thanks to everyone for agreeing to speak as well here today. My name is Anne O'Connell and I'm the Head of Funded Projects with Medtech and Engineering at Ibec, and I manage the Irish Medtech Skillnet, and Mary Kane is our Operations Manager. And myself and Mary will be running through and managing this programme for everyone here today. So thanks to all the speakers, and here's our agenda. So we have a packed agenda, so I'm not going to hold people up for very long listening to me. So as I say, I'm part of the Irish Medtech Skillnet. We have John Cosgrove as well from TUS, who is the Director of Smart Manufacturing Research and has been involved in the development of this programme from its inception. We have James Diviney, then Engineering Manager at PennEngineering, and Adrian Keogh, Automation Engineer at Henkel, Alan Harrington and Vijay Pramado from Alcon, who have all completed the Masters and will tell us about the why and where it's brought them and what it's led to for their company by really implementing the changes that they have been able to implement and learn through being involved in this programme. So the Irish Medtech Skillnet, just to give you a bit of background, we're one of the 17 networks of the Skillnet networks across Ireland. We're funded by both Skillnet Ireland and the companies that are involved in doing training with us. So we're a non-for-profit organisation, and it's all about developing industry-led skills and training for the medtech sector in this particular, but we deliver across all the different sectors in training, and particularly this is one of those programs that really is for across all sectors. But what we do is we work with industry to define what the industry need is, and then we work with the providers, and in this case TUS, to develop those industry programs that really meet the needs of industry. This year, the Skillnet itself launched a skills report. Over 400 people actually responded to a survey, but also we did really in-depth workshops around each and every area of skills, with a strategy really to identify what the needs were and then have the key aims. But actually, even since 2019, when this program was developed, the aims really remain the same. And just to give you an idea, I suppose, about we are the Irish Medtech Skillnet. We are funded through Skillnet Ireland. Our contracting organisation is Ibec, but you don't need to be a member of Ibec to be able to utilise the funding and the subsidised training that we deliver through the network. So that's really, I suppose, important. But really important as well is out of the future skills pillars, these are the 5 areas, one of them being manufacturing and advanced manufacturing and the future skills of advanced manufacturing. But what underpins all of those 5 areas, which is really, really key from the future skills report, was 2 areas, one being transversal skills and the other being digital skills. And I think the fact that digital skills was defined as being cross-functional as well as cross-sectoral within that report really is key to these type of programs and the development of these type of programs. But that's where it sits across all skills development. The origins of this program really came from a group that are developed. There's a lot of different area groups that sit within in Ibec, like regulatory affairs and quality and regulatory, RD&I, but this one sat within the advanced manufacturing working group, which is a group of multinationals and SMEs that work and they're really experts within the area of advanced manufacturing within their organizations, within their companies, and they come together to really define what the different needs are. One of them, from a skills development in 2017, 2018, was identified by that group. Adrian MacDonald in Ibec runs the group, and it was really one of them that was called out, was to develop training in the area of digitalization. And they defined that a master's would be the way to go with all of these key areas. Really, it was about evolving industry and evolving solutions. And as I say, it was launched in 2019. And we have VJ here today, but we've done videos and different promotional pieces around this, but also to give people the information of what this program has led to. But you'll hear it in person today. But just to give people an idea, and you can go to the Irish Medtech Skillnet website to be able to view more information on that. So John, I'm going to hand over to yourself. So we've Dr. John Cosgrove, and he's going to talk to us from TUS about the programme. Thanks, John.
Thanks very much, Anne. And we have delighted to see a number of our former students to speak today. So I'll try and go quickly through a brief introduction to the program and let them do hopefully the talking for the course. I put the brochure, the link to the brochure, into the chat. So the detail on each of the modules in particular is and the structure and the sequence and things like that are in there, and feel free to come back to us with any questions. So yeah, and Anne mentioned the Talent to Thrive report is an excellent piece of work, and I just picked out a little bit of the detail really just to highlight. We've done a redesign of the program, so we've been running the masters for nearly 5 years with a lot of learners who have gone through the program and graduated from it. But just looking again at how to make sure we're covering that balance of transversal skills like communications and developing the individual in their professional practice, as well as the technical skills in digitalization, automation, artificial intelligence, and so on. Yeah, next slide. So I think Ken has mentioned that. So we describe this as a professional practice-based research master. So it's designed for people who are actively working and involved in leadership, in innovation, in projects, in project management, in industry. It's broad in terms of the collaboration, and it's been great support from the Advanced Manufacturing Working Group and from Ibec and the Irish Medtech Skillnet in the development of the program and in supporting it. But it is across all advanced manufacturing and even technologies relating to manufacturing. And one of the emphasis in the redesign was to broaden the scope, I suppose. So, I would say all manufacturing, logistics, quality, validation, there are many aspects. It's not just about robots and production lines. It's actually all about data and how we use data better. So it's applicable to all sectors. And it's those critical skills are important, and also to be cognizant that there are new areas that are becoming more and more important, like sustainability, corporate social responsibility, and cybersecurity aspects that have also been brought into the program. Yeah, next slide. I said I'll whistle quickly through these, and we'll share them later. So the candidates that have come, and in Anne's slides, you might have seen it was mentioned that it was a Master's in Engineering. One of the changes we made is that it's an MSc or a Master's in Science, so it has a broader intake of disciplines. So it's as applicable to somebody with an IT qualification now, or a quality or regulatory qualification as it is for engineering. So and some of the companies who have sent their employees on the course are just reflected there, and you'll hear from some of them in the discussion. So a lot of people have come from, a lot of the target audience have been working for maybe 10 or 15 years in their industry, and a lot of technology in particular has changed in the last 5 years alone, never mind the last 10 or 15 years. So I suppose what we hope in the program is that we give people a very good foundation in those new technologies around digitalization, around data analytics, around artificial intelligence, that allow them to engage with projects and with initiatives in their company. And then we expect them to lead through in a project in their company that adds value in digitalization. And one of the benefits that the candidates, and they might mention that in their presentations, is that it is a learning network. It's a group of peers who meet. We have in-person boot camps, and it's an important part of the program that people meet other people from Irish industries to share what's happening and what's working and things like that. So there's a broad area of intake. Yeah, next slide. So just to mention that the eligibility is primarily an honours degree in any of those discipline areas, but there is a broader application process through what we call our recognition of prior learning. So we have had candidates with the level 7 degree qualification and maybe 10 or 15 years of industrial experience that we're able to work with to give access onto the course. So there's, there is a number of pathways. So we'll be happy to talk to anyone about their specific qualifications and experience and see if we can find a match. Yeah, perfect. So just as a highlight, I mentioned one case study that won't be discussed today, but it's as an example. I don't want to use his name. So the MES lead in Zimmer Biomet, their project was to look at data from their production machines. The data that was available from the machines themselves wasn't sufficient. So by adding some additional sensors and some edge devices, they were able to get a pilot running on one machine that showed considerable benefits, and extrapolating from those, they were able to roll that out across a fleet of machines with quite significant benefits for the company, and all of that came from the work of the master's project. But I think the other industry participants will talk better, I suppose, to their experiences as well. Next one. So we've had a number of those. As I said, we've had over 30 graduates from the program, and many of them have a key part of their thesis is identifying the value for digitalization. Digitalization projects are often criticized, or have been over the years, for not necessarily delivering value. If you only have a better dashboard showing you the information that you already had, then sometimes the value of that can be lost. But getting real savings and real benefits to the company, as well as the professional career development of the learner themselves, is a key part of delivering the project. Okay, next one. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've done a number of kind of videos and promotional activities in the past. These videos are on the Irish Medtech Skillnet YouTube channel. And when we share these slides afterwards, the links are embedded in them if you want to watch back on experiences. But we'll hear from Alan today, so live and in person. So and then just to highlight one other item, it is a master's by research, and it actually opens a pathway for candidates to go on and do a PhD. So we've had our first PhD graduate that came through the master's in digitalization of manufacturing, Dr. Patrick Rowan, who's a special projects director in Johnson & Johnson Vision Care. And his project essentially looked at digital models for simulating the design of automated production lines, and there's a lot of nice publications around his work. And we have, I think it's 5 currently registered on a PhD who have come through the master's program. So that's also a pathway that people in industry often don't consider, that you might lead through to completing a PhD by starting on the master's program. Okay, next. So the new structure, I suppose we surveyed the learners and industry, and we had quite a few briefings and talks and meetings, and we, in our surveys, 87% said they were satisfied or would recommend the program to others. We looked at the criteria in terms of, did the fact that there was a kind of a core focus in engineering, did that maybe prevent some people from taking it on, and we felt it did. So as I said, we've rebalanced the learning outcomes and approach. So it's now an MSc, a Masters of Science, and it has a broader application area. We looked at the technical specializations because we run a number of key technical modules or master classes. The previous learners would have completed 6. They'll now complete 4, and that's just a better alignment with some of the modules were being completed when people were already significantly through their dissertation or their research project, and the topic may not have aligned with what they were doing at that point. So there's a better focus there of completing the foundational modules, which are all about data, all about getting data in your factory or in your project, and how to analyze that data and how to use it as a kind of a key underpinning of all digitalization projects. There's more structured support then for the masters. The majority of credits in the program are for the dissertation. So by adding some additional online courses and modules that support the thesis writing better, the communications and dissemination of the results, those kind of transversal skills. So that's more strongly supported than it was in the past. The in-person boot camps were seen as a highly valuable part of the course structure, and so we've retained those. So the learners typically come for 2 or 3 days a couple of times a year to our campus, and they run Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the students are there together to present to each other, as well as meet previous students and current students that are at different stages. And as I said, additional training and practice on the communication aspects as well. Okay, next. Too many more to go. So those technical specifications, the ones that are core and mandatory, if you like, are on cyber-physical systems and IoT. So the deployment of embedded systems and sensors to collect data where it might not be already available. Database design and visualization, so getting that data into structured databases, cleaning the data and presenting it in dashboards and doing analysis on it. The data analytics and machine learning, which is applying those kind of deep learning, machine learning techniques to large data sets. And then we've retained the other 3 modules which were in the course, but with some updates. And essentially the learners will select one that aligns with their dissertation. So they'll do one of those. So they'll do 20 credits, 4 modules. And those 4 modules primarily take place over the first year of the course. It's a 2-year research masters. So obviously some of the project and the scoping of the project and the structuring of it will kick off as well in the first year. Yeah, next. And then in the second year, the primary focus is on the industry-based research project or innovation project. So that applied research dissertation and the communication or dissemination of it. And as you'll hear, these have taken all sorts of shapes and forms. And these are all individual projects. They also can be as a part of the research integrity modules that we do, all the intellectual property, protection of data, the GDPR, privacy, regulatory, all of those kind of aspects can be dealt with. And if necessary, thesis can be confidential, can be sealed for up to 7 years. So there's a whole lot of provisions of supports there based around industry-based research projects. So there's a lot of protection both for the company, the learner, and the college. And the supervision of those theses, I think it's very important. It's from experts from our research center and from the activities that we are involved in. Yeah, you can jump to the next slide. So just to mention, for anyone who doesn't know who we are, the IDEAM Research Institute is based in Toos, the Technological University Shannon. We're based here in Limerick. We run an industry cluster with over 40 SMEs that participate in innovation development. We run a technology gateway called Smarter Factory, where we have collaborative projects with industry, and we've run over 120 projects with industry over the last 10 or 15 years. And we run with our colleagues in IMR a project called the European Digital Innovation Hub. That's called Factory Exchange. And we have over 40 collaborative projects in development around digitalization and sustainability with companies, again, primarily SMEs through that. And we also work in digitalization across other sectors, like in the wind energy sector, as well as facilities and manufacturing. I think that's it for me.
Thanks very much, John. John, just as well, first of all, I just want to say if there's any questions for people from anyone, they can either put it into the chat or they can come on at the end. We'll have a Q&A session. But if there are any and you don't want to come on and ask a question, or you have any follow-up questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to contact any of us. So, so thanks very much for that, John. And I'm just going to move on to the next slide. So James Diviney, engineering manager at PennEngineering if you want to talk through it, and I'll move through your slides.
Hi, Anne. Yeah, yes, please. Next slide. So, hi, my name is James Diviney. I work in PennEngineering. We're a manufacturing company in Galway City. We have 3 buildings in the Merview Business Park. We employ 270 people here in Galway in manufacturing and sales. We manufacture, we're part of a multinational, PennEngineering, and we supply Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, and we have plants in. The headquarters is in America that supplies the American continent, and we have plants in China and Malaysia as well to supply the Far East. Here in Galway, we make 1 billion fasteners a year. We have a full range of manufacturing across our plant. We do cold heading, cold forming, we have screw machines, we have our own, we have 4 furnaces, we have 2 plating lines, we have a camera inspection, assembly, we have our own in-house tool room as well and warehouse. And we're at the moment we're building an extension, and we're looking to hire another 70 people in the next number of years. Our customers are the automotive. We do electronics, white goods, your fridges, and we also now are developed into EV batteries. I did a degree in mechanical engineering. I finished that in 1995. I joined a company that was called Precision Steel at the time. We became part of PennEngineering in 2001. And in 2021, 20 years later, I began the Masters in Digitalization. Next slide, please. So my primary degree was in mechanical engineering. In my time in the company, I had a lot of roles, and so we started off typical manufacturing engineers. We do drawings, bombs, routers. We also had responsibility for maintenance. As we've grown, we hired automation engineers, and I also am responsible for environmental and health and safety. Manufacturing in Europe is competitive. The company is always driven for continuous improvement and lean and better processes and cost savings. Part of that is a drive for automation and better understanding of our processes and data collection and analyzing that data. My primary degree is in mechanical engineering. I wanted a course, I suppose, that could keep up with changes in industry and how the business was developing, but still to be manufacturing orientated, and I needed to stay in work as well. Looking around at different courses, the topics covered on the Masters, I think was a very good fit for me and a manufacturing company. Next slide, please. John talked about the subjects, so I won't dwell on the subjects. It was a very good introduction. I felt they were well paced and organized, one fed into the other. While we all experience these things as we're buying machines and introducing processes, you don't have the same comprehensive view of an area that you get when you do a formal course. And so I think really benefited, and it accelerates your learning process in doing it in a structured way in a course. I particularly liked the boot camps John mentioned. We did the PLC and automation. We were trained in visual components, and we did Siemens programming PLCs, and we were able to link the PLCs to the simulated environments in visual components. And that was a good, introduction to digital twins. Next slide, please. So the daunting part of doing a course like a master's, particularly if you've been out of education for a while, is the whole concept of doing a thesis. There was a focus from the start on developing that thesis, whether you kind of had a particular project coming into the course, or just you wanted to develop that while you were doing the course. So there was an introduction to scientific literature, and you get access through the university. It gives you that opportunity to see what was being done in your area. You can learn a lot about the areas you're interested in with the up-to-date research, and you can see what's been done before, what worked well, and what gaps there are, and you can deal with your own kind of project. The project supervisor, you get a project supervisor who was great in giving guidance and direction on where to look and how to interpret what was out there and where, you know, the real benefits were. My focus was on, or developed over that period in energy savings in faster manufacturing. Around the time 2021, 2022, we were seeing energy bills get higher and higher. Cost of energy was a significant part of running a large energy intensive manufacturing site. And the different elements in the courses contributed to that. As John showed earlier, there was programming, there was data analytics, what we learned there. And the tutorials and the exercises, I was able to build on those to, you know, do further and better analysis using Python of our data, and the software developed over the project to get that information out to decide on what projects to do, to identify, you know, where the biggest benefit was and the most energy use was. Next page, please. In brief, we were using IoT to identify energy savings and manage energy in manufacturing. On the top right is a SAN key diagram, and it we identified the main energy users, and from that we focused on a furnace line, which you would expect is very energy intensive. We discovered that the furnace, that there was the washers use a significant amount of energy, but as the furnace went through different batches, there was an opportunity to turn them on and off. The furnace, being 20 years old, wasn't designed with the current day restraints on energy and goals for carbon reduction. We were able to incorporate a smart camera, which is like edge computing, to actually physically to detect when the equipment was running and then automatically turn on and off ancillary equipment to save energy use. By using edge computing and a smart camera and detecting the parts, we were able to, you know, more efficiently and effectively come up with a solution on that equipment than retrofitting the whole machine. Next slide, please. The benefits of the course, for me, it brought me up, it upskilled me from being, you know, purely having a mechanical engineering background, and what I learned indirectly was more formally and better, you know, covered. It provides value to the company in you can upskill your staff and you get a project. I think that really does deliver benefits under the guidance of the lecturers and your project supervisors who all have industrial experience and background. So it's not an academic course as such as, and you know, they have that experience to guide your research. You know, I would see it as a great way for somebody to progress. I came into the course as an engineering manager, and as I've done this, and as over the last 20 years, the company has continued to grow, so it better fits me or suits me in my role. It also, doing the thesis itself on energy use has, you know, opened up our awareness of where energy is used. It's what the carbon footprint is, and with the current environment, we have a lot of now feedback from customers and inquiries on what is the carbon footprint of our manufacturing processes, what are we doing to reduce our carbon footprint, And having done the course and started this a little bit earlier than the current drive in that has given us an opportunity to be a little bit ahead of the curve of our competitors in what we're going, how we're going to get there. And, initially doing those projects did offer the company, or did deliver, savings in 76,000 through reduced energy costs in the furnace and other projects we looked at the same time with compressed air use. And, we're continuing to run those projects now for the next step, be it, reducing lighting, reducing air use, and reducing water use in the company.
James, thank you so much. And I think what you've said there just shows that the digitalization process runs across all aspects of the business, especially when you're talking about there from a sustainability perspective, the impact. 76,000 is a significant saving for any project. So it's great to hear, and I think it's really important to hear the perspective of the people that have gone through the program, because myself and John can talk all we want about how good or how this or how bad it is, but it's really your and everybody else that we'll hear from this morning, your story, I think, is really important for people that are potentially interested in the program to be able to hear about as well. So so thank you very much. I'm going to pass over now to Aidan Keogh from Henkel. So Aidan, I know you're on the call here, so if you wanted to come on and just talk about, I suppose, your experience and why as a student you decided to pursue this, and also the benefits that it has brought to the company for actually completing the program.
Yep, no problem. Good morning, everyone. So yeah, glad to be here to talk about the course. It was a few years since I've done it, but it was definitely worthwhile. So maybe just introduce myself first. My name's Aidan Keogh. I'm automation engineer in Henkel in Dublin. Kind of moving into a role now of site automation coordinator and cybersecurity. So working through a lot of projects, which I might touch on later. I done the course in 2019, graduating 21. And my background would have originally been science. So Henkel, we're a chemical manufacturing company, so a heavy science contingent in the workforce, and my background would have been science. So delighted to hear it's an MSc now after I've done an MEng. But yeah, so where I came into the course was I had been in the automation engineer's role for probably 5 to 6 years at that point. And management were looking on this road of digitalization and digitization and how to apply to ourselves. So I was asked to take the course, had a look at it, and again, like the idea of the work-based research thesis really appealed to me. The modules were in the course were really, really good. And being able to do it alongside work was very important. So having started the course, one of the initial things that I found very important for me was the stuff even outside the modules. So we've done a lot of classes on research, methodology, report writing, all these kind of almost soft skills outside it, but it helped you present within work and outside of work kind of context for discussions you were having. Any reports you were writing. So, I learned a lot about the company that I work for myself, even just doing the thesis. So we are a global company, 40,000 employees worldwide in 124 companies. Within Ireland, we have 2 sites, both in Dublin, one in Tala and one in Ballyfermot, and I would work between both of them supporting the bulk manufacturing. So one of the differences for myself from where James was talking was we're more batch process driven. So it was more process control than discrete individual components. And it's somewhere that a lot of these digitalization projects don't get used as much. So the data is harder to maybe get out. The other important thing for ourselves is quite an old site. So our Ballyfermot site was originally built in 1966, still running. Our Tala site built in the 80s, but they're old plants, quite a lot of old equipment. But in doing the course, we started to see the value of the data that we had on site. So we've had a DCS on both sites from early to mid 1980s. We've been capturing data since mid 90s in databases, but the databases I learned through the course, they weren't normalized. It wasn't clean data. Every time you went to try and extract some value, it took you longer to get to the usable data than the value you got out of it. So my project ended up looking very closely on our data. So we had DCS, so cyber physical system. We had a lot of data, but it was just in the wrong format to use. So we basically, my thesis was process optimization. It looked at the data we had, and I developed a new database for the site in Ballyfermot. We built on that and moved it up to an OEE system, which is still in use today on our crude plants. So it's a chemical synthesis process, so proper reaction chemistry on large scale. And as I said, it's a very old site, old process. So a lot of the variables that were the low hanging fruit that could easily be controlled had already been controlled. So we were at this diminishing gains point where it was very difficult to know of the 150 variables left to control which ones brought the most benefit. So the from the data analytics machine learning module in the course, I became very interested in all those kind of models and how to integrate data into those models. So a large part of the course went on that. We built our database. We got good, clean data, properly normalized through the tables and joined together. We ran a series of analysis on it and found 2 or 3 components within our process which were the next things to hit. From there, we were able to improve our yield on our batches, which brought financial savings to the company. And also because we built it into a Microsoft Power BI dashboard that was available day to day, our morning meetings ran a lot quicker. Any delays in the process became evident a lot more quickly, and we were able to respond. So our time running became a lot more valuable. We were able to open up time then for preventive maintenance and things like that, where we had been firefighting. We got more into a planned and preventative approach. Also done a little bit while we're in database on kind of digitization of our QC lab, so a small LIMS system for sample submission and just trying to integrate all the different departments in the factory. So yeah, that's kind of my background and where I was. From the course point of view, as I said before, I really enjoyed the kind of soft skills outside it. Being able to write a report, present to people, make clear arguments with good context was very good, and I really learned a lot of that through the course. The modules, yeah, I like some of the ones that were less applicable to me, like the robotics, and maybe some of the digital twin stuff. It was less applicable, but it was very interesting to have done it. And then we do have a filling plant on site, and in the new role of automation coordinator, I'm getting a bit more involved in that, and it's good to have that grounding of where are the benefits and what can be done in the filling plant. The other part of the course was really good. So in the years that we done it, the physical contact was a little bit less. There was a lot of virtual workshops, but people coming in from outside to present as to what is happening in industry, what is coming 2-3 years down the line, even just being aware of where these kind of talks are happening was very useful. So like even today, I'd refer to stuff that I'd seen both in some of the conferences we attended, some of the talks we had on site, and also some of the research that we saw the other students doing in LIT as it was at the time. So that's really good. Like even where the guys are talking about new machinery coming in and protection systems, I can refer back to, when I was in LIT 4 or 5 years ago, there were guys doing this vision systems, detecting faces and hands and things. So really good from that point of view. So to anyone thinking of doing the course, all I can say is, what you see listed, all really good, delivered really, really well. Great support from the guys on site, but there's a lot more outside of that you can develop yourself for yourself and benefit to the company going forward. So I think
Aidan, thank you very much. I think that's great insights, and actually one of the pieces I was going to ask you on, and you already preempted it, was the support from the college, I suppose, and from your company supporting you to go and do it, but also the support from the college and the insights that it gives you for probably future roles as well. I think that's really important to have. Thank you so much. This is really appreciate you doing this. I'm going to move on to Alan Harrington now. Tony O'Reilly, who's the head of engineering in Alcon, sits on the steering committee of the Irish Medtech Skillnet. And I remember one day he said, everyone, all different functions across companies should be doing this type of a program or parts thereof. And as such, we've got two people from Alcon here today speaking on this. So I have Alan Harrington to start off with, and then Vijay after that. So I'm just going to go through these slides. So Alan, just give me the direction as you want me to move.
Thank you, Anya. You can, yeah.
Here we go.
There we go. So, hello. My name is Alan Harrington. I work for Alcon Ireland. We are the largest eye care company in the world. Our primary business is manufacturing IOLs, or intraocular lenses, which are used during the cataract surgery to replace the natural lens that breaks down over time. Our site is located in Cork. Here at the site, we manufacture 5 million of these lenses per year, various models and diopters. We are located in Bishopstown in the IDA Business Park, and we currently have 4 buildings within that site. We have a full manufacturing plant, a finishing plant, an R&D facility, and we have an office space as well. So just move on there, and next one. Just a little bit about myself. I'm 14 years with Alcon. I've had various positions throughout the company across MTO and R&D, primarily focused on project engineering, molding, validation, process engineering, and as of late, I've just moved into an R&D manager for pen development. So if you move on to the next one there, please. So why TUS? A couple of years ago, I was looking to upskill. I have a level 8 qualification, and I was kind of toying with the idea of doing a master's, and Alcon is very good for internal development opportunities, and there was a number of masters offered throughout the site around the time. So I reviewed them, and the digitalization manufacturer was the one I picked. Primarily, there was a number of reasons. Number one, it was the best fit for industry, really applicable to what we're doing here. Digitalization is a key aspect of manufacturing. The modules, the course content, the workshops were one thing that appealed to me, actually going in, meeting people on site, and followed by the project and thesis. So signed up for the course. You can hop on to the next slide there. I started in 2020. As I mentioned, we had 6 modules, and we had the project and thesis to finish. So that's just a quick introduction on myself. If you want to move to the next slide there, please, Anne. From a personal development perspective, my project within the Masters was primarily based on molding and planning. I built a molding and planning scheduling application that is currently working in manufacturing. This was primarily a manual-based system where we would schedule manually and try and decipher what inventory we had, coupled with what we needed to build, coupled with trying to keep our inventory levels at a good level, so we'd always have inventory to support any product demands as they came in. So my application was desktop application that was built. It was primarily focused on a lean system. So we would manage our inventory, so we wouldn't overbuild, that we just maintain enough inventory so that we'd have a week's worth of everything on site across all models and diopters. We would also, I connected to multiple databases to assess my inventory, assess my orders coming in, and assess my availability of pins and what I needed to build. So all that coupled together in the application gave a live scheduling and planning app, prompting the users at 9 different molding machines what their next schedule was and the schedule after that. And it was ran kind of on a week-to-week basis, that at the end of the week we would have built up enough stock to have our inventory levels maintained. We would also have addressed all the orders that come in. There'd be no back orders. Everything would have started moving, and then the following week we'd rinse and repeat essentially. So it was all done in real time, which is great, and we have a vast number of models and diopters in the process, and it accommodated all of them. So through the course, I gained a comprehensive knowledge of digitalization in industry, primarily based around the lit review. Once I got into lit review, I developed my knowledge on, we'd say, smart technologies, smart cars, smart cities, smart factories, smart machines, and that kind of took me down the road where I wanted to go for the project around smart planning, scheduling, and smart lean systems. And I was able to kind of review the aspects of what had been done by others, and embed some of them ideas into my application, which was really beneficial. If you just want to pop on to the next slide there, Anne. So from a personal development perspective as well, once I completed the master's, I transitioned to an R&D manager. So I moved from MTO over to R&D, and in my new role, I'm responsible for optic tooling development. We would develop the optic tools to make the molds, to make the IOLs. I would be over a pilot line, a process line here that we'd develop the tooling, we'd manufacture the molds, and we'd make the lenses, and we'd verify them on the back end, whether they're to specification or not. And in R&D, we'd be dealing with new products, new iterations of our IOLs that would improve vision contrast and so on and so forth. So within my daily job at the moment, I'm utilizing a lot of systems that I would have initially touched on through this master's. Like, all of our data at the front end and the back end of the process is extracted from SQL. We're plotting it all in Tableau in live databases. We're reviewing it. We have some systems internally that we track lots through the process that we've developed ourselves. We also have developed internal pin management system to track optic tooling, to generate failure reports and all that. We've fully gone away from paper with all these systems, and then we're using custom built simulate software to actually, simulate performance of a pin before we even cut it, so that we can tweak parameters of the optic tooling. So we've a full holistic digitalization system across pins, molding, process to the lens. And just from a business improvement perspective, how this course has improved Alcan as a business, acceleration has been key here. Acceleration primarily around planning and scheduling. It used to be a mundane task. Now it's a seamless task. It's done in seconds as opposed to hours. That acceleration within R&D has allowed us to grow. Obviously, R&D, we're bringing in new products. The faster these products get to launch, the better it is for business. So if we have this acceleration there, it's really good for the business. Speed is another improvement we've had here. Speed on, we said, data review. Everything is seconds now as opposed to hours. Like, Tableau has revolutionized us. Our data is there to review as we need it. There's no Excels, there's no plotting a Minitab, nothing like that. Data analytics is another key for us. That data on Tableau, we've transformed our site, we've increased yields, we've been predicting when machines need to be maintained. We can catch defects ahead of schedule. And the other thing, in pipeline projects, I have a good opportunity here. There's a lot of new processes and new products coming in. So at the very initial development of equipment and processes, we're embedding in the tools for digitalization into them. So our URSs contain, we need to have OPC UA in the system. We need to extract all the data out of it. It needs to be embedded in SQL servers so we can, utilize it straight away. And that is fundamental for us because our products are getting more complex, and without that data to hand, we will not be able to deliver on these complex projects. So look, that's kind of my summary.
Alan, thank you so much. I think it's really, it's like, again, it's another aspect of how you undertaking this program has really benefited Alcon, and particularly, I suppose, now from an R&D perspective as well, new products coming in and being able to transition them from both I suppose, a process and a product perspective, that you're able to now manage that in a very streamlined and efficient manner. And I think it's really important to hear about all the different aspects of how each one of the students have implemented different digitalization products. And certainly, last but not least, I'm going to hand over to Vijay Pramadola to talk to us through his experience of the Masters. So Vijay, just let me know when you want me to move on the slides.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vijay Pramod. I'm currently working as a principal engineer software developer at Alcon, which is based in Cork, which is a implant lens manufacturing company. So I completed my master's in cloud computing from Dublin NCI in 2019, and in 2020 I joined Alcon and have around 7 years of industry experience. Next one, please. So during my time at Alcon, as a part of our transition from semi-automated machines and the manual process that we are moving towards the fully automated systems. So I was seeking a course to advance my skills and to gain deeper insights. So I was referred by Alcon to pursue this Master of Digitalization course that is from Skillnet, which I began in 2021. Next one, please. So regarding my thesis, so as per the course structure is designed in such a way that it definitely will bridge a gap between the current active technology trends and our organization manufacturing process. So my final project was work-based research project, which is focusing on analyzing production metrics and machine status on our production floor. And also it will precise on the data metrics and aid in the evaluation of operation performance for our production lines. So it's like a visual factory. This project is now deployed across all our manufacturing and finishing centers. So currently they are using that in measuring overall site health, maybe the data analysis, the operational performance, and to log issues in the process, to analyze the operators' performance and their metrics and everything. The implementation of this projects. So I would like to go through the benefits before the of the current project. So the data was maintained in the each individual systems, like it was not spread across multiple systems without any proper communication between the multiple process steps. So there was around maybe 30 plus process step, and in some cases the data was maintained in an Excel file, and that should be spread across multiple steps. But now after the implementation, all the metrics are maintained in the centralized database, and there is a seamless communication multiple process step. We can get the data, like if there is any issue in one process step, so we can analyze the data, and that may be spread across multiple process step, and we can identify the system health, and if there is any issue with the machine status, and also the performance is improved significantly across the process. So which gives actually the accurate value to the business, and this aspect will contribute for the professional and personal development, aiding in the transition of our all the semi-automated manual process to a fully automated systems. So after the course, I can understand and apply all the advanced manufacturing technologies uh, in the company process. It not only the theory based, like only the theory, will get the hands-on experience, and that is immediately applied on the day-to-day activities in our company, and will get the benefit from that. and and the and the data whatever is there, that is with this project, that is gathered across the multiple process, and it is projected, and that is deployed now in across all the production floor. And this is definitely beneficial as for me and for the company as well now. Thank you.
Vijay, thank you very much. So there was obviously a lot of streamlining of the logistics then across the company that you were able to implement as a result of the project. And I suppose what I'm hearing as well is a lot of cost savings for the companies as well as efficiencies being implemented. So so as I say, if there's any questions from anybody, and I want to thank all the presenters. John, is there anything you'd like to add before we finish up?
No, just I suppose I think the speakers highlighted that the part of the opportunity here is to work on something that's aligned with your role in your company, and you know, which I think makes it not necessarily feel like you're studying a separate program. You're developing an innovation within your role in the company, and that can be used in a thesis for a dissertation and gain you a master's. So and it's real practical applied work. You're not simulating something that's vague, or you know, that has been developed in the university. It's real practical applied projects in your company, and I think that's a huge value.
Great, thanks, John. Absolutely, and you know, I think we heard it. Even we'll say what Aidan said as well about the fact that, you know, there was talks and information that was gathered that you wouldn't necessarily be able to, I suppose, even know that it was going on if you weren't out there and involved in doing a program like this. So I think that and all the benefits for the individuals and the companies were outlined today. So and if anyone has any further questions, don't hesitate to either contact ourselves at the Irish Medtech Skillnet or John or the colleges to ask any questions that you may have. The program is starting on what date?
Mid-October.
Okay.
The first boot camp is just towards the end of October, but just get registrations in. There's a few weeks, yeah. So
loads of time. Just come back to us and ask any questions that you want. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've nearly everyone gone. Your Paul won't object if I remove him there. Frank, thanks for joining it. The other webinar just finished. Obviously, we've just finished here as well. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think that was I think that went well. You happy with that, Anne? You're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry. No, I thought it went well. I thought everyone spoke really well.
They did, yeah. Yeah, good.
Yeah. The only thing that I was just hoping that we would get one woman to speak on it, but unfortunately,
yeah.
There wasn't that many women have done it, is there?
One.
Just Etna.
Yeah, just Etna.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a shame. It's a
I
shame.
know, yeah,
really.
and yeah, we'd yeah, don't know. We'll have to look for a grant or something like that to I don't know, sponsor female participants or something like that, or you know, diverse participants. So anyway, it's hard to do.
Yeah. So hopefully today we'll get a bit of traction with people.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, there was a good number of registrations. Not everybody came on the call, but you know, they'll get the link to the recording, I suppose. So
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
you know, someone look back at
Oh,
it.
we'll follow up with them now and send them on the link. But yeah, I mean, there was at least, I suppose there was about 10 people there today that would have, I mean, if you converted 7 or 8 of those, that would be
Yeah.
good, wouldn't it? Do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, the last person that was on the call there, Paul Kilbridge, Paul's in EI Electronics. Like he's the operations director. He you know,
okay.
if he decides he could send 2 people or 3 people or 4 people on it, like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
There, and I think there
Yeah.
was a number of key stakeholders like that as well there. So
Yeah, and come here, if
hopefully
he
that's
ever
it.
wanted to talk to like the likes of Tony O'Reilly or whatever, let
Sure.
us know. And Tony will absolutely have no problem in talking to him.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thanks very much.
Good to talk to you.
Talk
Bye.
soon. Take
Good
care.
luck.
Bye bye.
Bye, bye, bye.